Hello, everybody. What's going on? A beautiful Friday morning, day 2 of Worlds in the books, and of course, very spicy. Even spicier than yesterday, probably.
It was definitely spicy. We saw some couple of upsets as usual again, and a whole lot of tilt.
A whole lot of tilt. Eric Kummel, Matt Hempstead, in case you don't know.
That's right.
But yeah, there was some tilt in a few different games that a lot of. I like paying attention even more so to these player cams, especially after big team fights or plays, because there's just a whole lot of face palming or just rolling the head back. You know, that's the best way to gauge how a game is going for a team, is just look at the player cams.
Yeah, even look at the people laughing in their player cams, being like, "What is he doing?" There's a lot of that as well yesterday or this morning. Again, it's always confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the player cams was one of the most entertaining parts of yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Some of the highlights. First game of the day, TSM and Flash Wolves. North America still looking for that first win at Worlds.
That's right, and there's a Tarek sighting. There he is.
Look at that.
Sword Art pulling out the Tarek. That ult is
pretty good.
a lot of fun.
A Trist and a Lulu? Wow. Haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, that's pretty original. But yeah, I mean, anytime there's a Tristana, you get to that late game, it's going to be pretty spooky.
Very spooky and not that fun to play against. Look how late First Blood is in this game. 15 minutes, and it's Svenskeren kind of just face-checking the Rift Herald there against the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get too aggressive and stop that without much support. And is this the same play, Eric? It looks pretty similar.
It's actually 2 minutes later. It's not a replay. They really don't want the Flash Wolves to get the Rift Herald. Instead, Svenskeren's going to drop again. He did not have a great game. Spoiler.
Yeah, no, he did not have a great game. He went like 0-5 with a couple of assists thrown in. But yeah, this one went even worse than last time. Double F gets chased down and eventually started with the Tarek stun, takes out Bjergsen. So rough start for TSM after a couple of Rift Herald mishaps.
Yeah, but their saving grace for a lot of this game was the play of Hauntzer. Does the little Goomba stomp over Corki there for the outplay, and then forces the flash out of Maple as well. He had an amazing game.
Hauntzer was popping off. He didn't perform too well last Worlds, but this is the play people are talking about right here. After the Tarek ult wears off, 5-man ultimate. Casters are going crazy. Absolutely nuts play. And then Double F tries to clean up, gets Sword out low, but that's going to be the inhib for TSM, and that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this game was crazy back and forth. You see Flash Wolves attending a Baron. Svenskeren got a theme going on here. Him diving into Flash Wolves, doesn't get the steal. He goes down, and then Flash Wolves trying to push that advantage up top lane to get a low hit inhibitor. They do get the inhib, and TSM can't really follow up. They do force a flash out, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, they disengage from the Marines, or from the Flash Wolves, sorry. But then here we go. TSM at the Baron buff. Going to take it, but it ends up being a trade for a couple of inhibs when Maple TPs into TSM's base and knocks down 2 of those inhibitors. So interesting trade.
Yeah, and they lose 3 inhibs.
Yes.
So they got the double super minion spawning, but somehow still got the Elder Dragon.
They do, and then they're going to try to chase it down. Double F gets a flash shield from Biofrost to get the speed up, and they take out Betty there. And again, Double F just popping off on this late game Tristana. So much damage coming out with the 6-item build. Insane damage at this point in the game.
Yeah, great job by him to recognize the kind of out of positionness there. Out of positionness, that's a word for sure. Of Betty to take advantage of that. But I love a flash Lulu shield by Biofrost. What an outstanding play. What a fun and interactive champion to play against. Yeah, that's just Lulu.
That's just Lulu. But yeah, you saw Double F after the game, hands shaking. Oof. Man, a lot of pressure in that game. That was an intense one, back and forth. Tough decision making. But eventually it was Double F doing the damage. There's some help from Biofrost in the shields. And Hauntzer with some clutch plays as well. Some big ultis, some big outplays to really keep TSM in this game while the Flash Wolves were looking to pull away with it early on. Yeah,
I mean, so Flash Wolves get out to a great start. Couple thousand gold leads, some early kills. And TSM definitely on the back foot. Then they win some team fights, turn it around, get a Baron. And then you're like, oh, they're going to end it here. And they don't end it. They get a Nexus turret, I think. But then it goes back and forth to Flash Wolves, and then that's when it got really stressful because it looked like TSM might drop it, keep the Western wins at a goose egg, but they were able to survive. And yeah, the fact that you just saw Double F's hands shaking, he was super excited for that win. And yeah, this first game of Worlds for TSM, get those jitters out of the way. Pretty key that they got that win.
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty close one. I mean, it wasn't easy whatsoever. People were coming in being like TSM favorites to win this group, so there's a lot of pressure there because usually at Worlds they're not the favorites to get out of the group. That's for sure. But they might be, looked at to escape as a number 2 seed. This year, everyone's looking at them to win. They managed to pull it off against Flash Wolves, get that first W under your belt. It's definitely a huge victory.
Yeah, and we'll see if that gives confidence to TSM moving forward in that group. There was an all-Western matchup today.
Oh, here we go.
Gotta love the NA
versus EU.
Versus EU. Immortals taking on Fnatic. Obviously, Fnatic had that soul-crushing loss in week 1. But,
yes.
More Lulu, more Janna, Twitch, Kog'Maw, same stuff.
Ryze,
Ooh.
always. Pobelter on Taliyah had a pretty good performance in this one as well. And then Flame on Jace. So some interesting picks. And this game got also pretty spicy like the first one of the day.
Yeah, I mean, early on, clearly, you can see what the teams were prioritizing. 4-man dive against Cody Sun and that Kog'Maw. Just, I mean, you have pretty much no chance when there's no response from your team. But there is a response. Immortals goes to Soaz, 3-man dive. He actually plays it pretty well. He forces the flash out of Xmithie, and then he'll force it out of Flame as well. But he still goes down, and it's always a good idea to camp Soaz.
Always a good idea. And this is one of the reasons right here, because this play is a big mistake from Soaz. Ole does a good job to keep Soaz off the Baron. And obviously, on Cho'Gath, pretty easy to just feast to that 1,000.
Yep.
But he's going to miss.
Oh, boy.
He's going to miss.
Oh, he'll get out, though.
No, wasted a flash, too.
Oh, no.
Just awful play there.
Yeah, Soaz had a very rough game for them. But, I mean, across the board, other than Soaz, I think a lot of the guys on Fnatic looked really well. That's a nice Lee Sin play from Broxah, kicking Cody Sun into the team. Rekkles, fantastic on Twitch here. I mean, he had some amazing flanks just like this one, where he just pop in with the Lulu shield and he's just hard carrying team fights.
Yeah, I mean, if you open up with that spray and pray, rat-tat-tat, whatever you want to call it, the damage initially is just insane out of stealth. And he was popping people left and right, even chasing down Pobelter here to take another kill, 6-0 for Rekkles.
It's not bad, and yeah, he did have a fantastic game, and this play by Fnatic is just so slick. That is how you use Ryze ultimate. Free Baron, they kill that insanely quickly.
Yeah, I mean, just burst it down so fast with Rekkles having so much CS2, like 500 at this point.
And by Soaz.
Absurd. Yeah, and then Soaz gets caught out once again by this Immortals lineup. Xmithie barely sticks left thanks to Redemption, and they would eventually go down to take an inhib off of that catch. But this one is the heartbreaker.
Oh, no. Rekkles, a fantastic game, but one simple misplay. The flash into 3 Immortals, guys. He drops. He's obviously the main carry on this team. Caps gets low. That's going to be another kill for Cody Sun. One mistake is all Rekkles made all game, and it ends up costing Fnatic the game.
Yeah, and you can tell how upset he is after just sitting in his chair for like minutes on end with his head in his hands. Just so upset. He knows he's screwed up, but let's not be too hard on Rekkles because for the longest time in this game, he was pumping out all the damage. He was the main carry, and I mean, he was making plays, carrying this team on his back for 50 minutes. And the one mistake, there's just so much pressure on him to make plays on this team sometimes. When Soaz is down and going another 0-6 game,
man.
Caps is not doing too much on Ryze. Brox had a pretty good Lee Sin game, getting active early, but I mean, it's on Rekkles to perform, and he just had too much pressure in this one.
Yeah, and the real tragedy of this game is obviously that ended in a loss for them. But people are just going to look at that play and say, oh man, Rekkles choked at Worlds, bad play. But yeah, he was the whole team for the majority of that game. As I mentioned, his flanks were insane. He was changing team fights in the way of Fnatic, and that's one of the reasons they got back into that game and eventually were in a position to definitely take that away. But one mistake. It's a big mistake, and he definitely, I don't think he should have even flashed in. I don't care if Taliyah has Zhonya's or not. That's too deep to be flashing in, but
by yourself.
By yourself. I mean, Lulu Shield, that's like three teammates. But I mean, aside from that, he was great.
Yeah, Rekkles, you can't put it all on him. Let's talk Soaz for a second, because another bad game from Soaz. Now, 2 straight days. I think his KDA is like 1 in 14 in terms of kills to death, and that's not a good ratio.
Not bad.
But teams are just saying, you know what? We can kill Soaz over and over, and it affects Fnatic's performance. Without a doubt, it does. You can say, like, yeah, Rekkles is getting all these kills bottom, and he's getting all this CS and gold, but, man, Soaz is shut out of these games.
Yeah, he has, and usually at Worlds is when you see Soaz play even better than he does throughout the regular season and playoffs, but definitely not the case this time. I do want to give a shout out to Pole Belter because he looked great on that Talia. He had a couple 1v1s with Caps that were pretty even. They both played pretty well, but I mean, his Weaver's walls were great, and he was just always in a safe position outputting damage.
Yeah, Footballter had a great performance for sure. I mean, even just the way he would ult to keep people off of the Nexus turrets and stuff like that so they could get a free turret, get some catches out. I just love him on Talia because he's more active than he is in other champions when it comes to helping out sideways and stuff like that. So good performance from him and a good bounce back performance overall for Immortals. Again, they played well against Longzero, I would say. This one was still a little sketchy against Fnatic, but
yeah,
you come in with a win, and they're 1-1.
Yeah, and you got to be feeling pretty good if you're Immortals. EDG. Day 1, fell to AHQ. People probably weren't expecting that. So day 2, they get SKT. So they're going to get completely blown out, right? They have no chance.
SKT is the best team in the world, man.
Yeah, they're the best team in the world. I mean, look at that. A Twitch, a Janna. No Lulu.
No Lulu.
Wow.
Not at all. One concern for Edward Gaming. Lack of a tank.
Yes.
People going that full damage Rek'Sai these days.
Yeah,
look at Janna, so it's cool.
Rumble obviously not that good. And much like C9 tried to do against SKT, put the focus on Faker. Just camp him. Try and get some kills on him. But for EDG, it actually works.
They actually got it done. Yeah, the camp Faker strat was paying off early. EDG with an early edge, get Scout rolling on that Lucian. And then Mouse from the bot lane joins the party. Just keep it coming.
Send anyone.
Over and over. And I mean, even after this, Scout's going to barely survive from that terrifying Cho'Gath that Huni's playing. But the team comes from out of nowhere. Everybody on EDG comes down, and they're going to keep this chase going on. Eventually, EDG picks up a couple kills here, and they just have a pretty massive lead at 13 minutes, about 4K.
Yeah, it's not a bot lane party, it's a mid lane party.
Yeah.
Everyone shows up, and yeah, they executed pretty well. 6-0 in kills at this point for EDG, and they're not done.
No, even with Peanut already dead. iBoy with the flash forward and the ultimate. iBoy looked fantastic in this game, as did Clearlove early. Look at that, 8 kills to nothing, about 8K in the lead, and they push it to a 10K gold advantage.
Yeah, I mean, now, you feel like no gold is safe against SKT, even when it's that massive, but then they make plays like this.
This is a nasty wombo combo. The Rakan engage into the Orianna Shockwave with the spray and pray from Bang. The damage is insane. Hard to counter that, but the lack of vision on that side of the brush was just devastating. And from here, they would take 2 mid lane turrets and Baron.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously a massive swing gets SKT back in the game, but EDG still fought back. Another team fight where iBoy is fantastic. Nice double snare there.
Absolutely, yeah. He looked fantastic in this one, and EDG crawling back into it. Even though they still have the gold lead, it looked like SKT had the entire advantage. Scout would eventually chase down Huni there, but once again, a great play from SKT out of vision to get a nice pick, and they're gonna just run over SKT in this team fight, or EDG in this team fight.
Yeah, and it looks pretty good for EDG at the start of that fight. They get Wolf down early, but yeah, just nice kiting by SKT, and you know that they're an amazing team fighting team. And iBoy left just standing, and then when SKT gets an advantage, they push it back pretty quickly.
Yeah, they do. They took Baron off of that team fight, and then that was pretty much all she wrote. Down goes Scout on the Lucian. Mouse is dead as well. And iBoy doing his best, tries to make a last desperation play, has to do something.
They're all pretty low.
They're all pretty low. He goes for it, but the rupture lands, and then eventually Peanut's gonna hit the EQ here. And that pretty much wraps it up for SKT. So close for EDG. They were up 10K gold and couldn't close it out. That's a concern.
They can't keep getting away with it, man.
I know.
SKT, I mean, yeah, EDG, you have that massive a lead. You got to close that game out. It doesn't matter who it's against. It's just such a great start. I mean, their strategy was working well, and it's just one team fight, one group up, and that's why a lot of teams are banning that Rakan, is because his engage potential on someone skilled like Wolf is just absolutely insane. Follow up with a Shockwave, and I mean, 2 turrets and a Baron is, even when you're down 10K gold, that is a heck of a swing.
It's a huge swing, and from there they're only done 4K, and they started to push it around, push their advantage even further. Sure, they fell down in that team fight down the bot lane to iBoy and EDG, but they just kept with it, found more picks, and that's why they're the best team. Even when they're down that far, they're still in every single game. But one thing, if you're SKT, they do look vulnerable because teams are getting these early leads against them. If EDG can get a 10K gold lead, then there are teams at this World's Tournament that can take advantage of that and close it out rather than just kind of falter.
Yeah, I think there's teams that can close out a little faster. But the thing, SKT, they never panic in game. They always are just looking ahead to what they can do to get back into that game. And even after they come down from a 10K gold lead to win, you saw the faces after the game. Faker and guys are just sitting there. Yep, good game, good game. Like, it's just a normal game. They don't care. It's only day 2, game 2 of the group stage. They are just unfazed by this stuff. So it's hard to beat these guys.
It's definitely not easy. And now Group A, SKT's up at top at 2-0, C9 and HQ at 1-1, and Edward Gaming at the bottom at 0-2.
Yeah, that loss is looking pretty good for C9, who in day 2 did play AHQ. And, you know, HQ beat EDG, so who knows what you're expecting in this game. You're expecting some interesting results from Jensen in this game. And another Nautilus, that's right. Everybody burned Flash for that first blood. Worth.
Yeah, you get that first kill on Impact on Nautilus and get a little tank here. And then another great ultimate here from Jensen to get onto West Door. The Jarvan is going to do some damage. Mountain's going to be able to take down
double
Jensen
tornado
eventually. But yeah, the double tornado. Contracts on Israel again.
You know, I like him on Ezreal. He looks pretty good. This time, just Impact takes the Rise ultimate. Just press your ult on the Kog'Maw. Pretty fun interaction as well there. And I mean, C9 was pretty in control this whole game. There was basically one team fight where they kind of lost a couple of guys, but they looked much better in this game than against SKT. And yeah, they're now 1-1 with EDG. Or with EDG losing. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. Definitely a big game there for Cloud9. World Elite Misfits, not as entertaining as a lot of the other games on the day. Pretty much World Elite the entire way, and it started early. Kandi getting active in the jungle, taking down Hans Sama.
Oh,
and this bot lane just struggled.
Max Lore.
Yeah, and a little whiff.
A pretty big whiff, and that was actually kind of costly. But yeah, the story of this game was GA on the LeBlanc. I mean, he's popping around there, and this Misfits just looked totally lost. GA eventually gets a triple kill in this team fight. They were all over them.
Yeah, Misfits definitely on the back foot the entire time. Really didn't try to do anything proactive on the map, and it was just World Elite taking it to them. And once LeBlanc gets like a few kills, she's just gonna one-shot people. So it's pretty devastating. GA finished 7-0.
Yeah, and it just kind of seemed like Misfits just sat back there and waited to lose the game. But this is the game.
This is it.
This is the game. We got to pause this to just look at this, because you've got a Lucian in the top lane, Tristana in the mid lane, and a Mordekaiser and Karma are jungling before they go bottom. And as soon as they go bottom lane, what happens? They get dove.
I mean, the Marines, you got to give them credit for bringing out these weird strategies. But this one just did not work whatsoever. Archie TP's back in right after, and he's going to die immediately. Rough start for him going 0-2 on this Moor that doesn't want to fall behind.
Yeah, you get first turret and 2 kills there. They're up over 2,000 gold before 5 minutes.
That's so devastating. It was basically the same story the entire game.
Yeah.
Archie just dying first in pretty much every team fight. And it wasn't too difficult for Longzhu to just pick them apart after. Khan was doing all kinds of damage on this Jarvan, and BDD as well, just pumping out damage. And once again, you know, story was Archie dying.
Yeah, everyone's laughing on Longzhu after that game. I mean, super convincing win. The cheese strat worked against Fnatic, but against Longzhu, I mean, I gotta say that was very innovative. I don't know if I want to call it innovative. It was interesting.
It was so
funny. It took them so long to even do Wolves that by the time they got to that bottom turret, the minions were already up against there, and they're just like, Khan, let's TP on this. Couple free kills.
Okay.
Both times Archie died there, didn't even use flash. No reason to, no chance.
No.
I mean, when you're down 2,000 plus gold before 5 minutes, like, the game is done.
Oh, it's so over.
Over.
And Archie wasn't done. He finished at 0-8-0. No assist, no nothing. Just what is happening? And this is why they try to give him help. They put him down that bot lane, give him the Lulu support, give those 80 carries that soul lane EXP to get them ahead and try to get the siege comp rolling. But my God, did it backfire. That was disgusting.
I mean, so he didn't even... The point of that Mord is you can use that ult to, get a champion ghost, a dragon ghost, and do some sieging. He didn't get one. The whole game. Didn't get a kill. They didn't get a dragon. He basically didn't have an ultimate that game. That makes a champion a lot worse, except for old AP Scion.
That's right.
So
where you just don't level up your ultimate.
Yeah. Pretty much every other champion, you should probably ult and have something useful out of that game. That was a mess.
I respect the creativity, and I respect them putting together the siege composition kind of thing. But again, when you fall behind that early, by that much, you are screwed.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it in day one with the full AD Nocturne. That was pretty cool. Caught some teams by surprise with the like level 5 bot lane Nocturne ultimate, which is absurd, by the way. But this one, maybe pushing the boundaries a tad too much. It's not just a weird pick. It's like everything is going crazy.
Yeah, and they just, I don't know how much of it is because they feel like Archie is a liability in the top lane. How much of it is they just feel like they can't compete with other teams that they're doing these crazy strategies, but they're definitely interesting. The one thing I really want to knock on is why are you putting Levi, who's clearly the best player on the team and the main carry, I would say, on a Cho'Gath?
I think the rationale was that it just helps get that dragon on the Mordekaiser. With the Feast, you can take that pretty early when you have the Soul Interest done in the mid lane as well. So you just bring them down, you take that dragon real quick, and then you go back mid and siege your dragon, your Tristana. Not bad, in theory. But it doesn't always work that way. Especially against a team like Longzhi, who's just, at 3 minutes, we're going to ruin your composition.
Yeah, so, I mean, I will say, going forward, every Gigabyte Marines match is a must-watch.
Yes.
Because you don't know what the heck you're going to do. Even just looking at that team comp, like if you didn't pay attention to the game at all, you just go, oh, Mordekaiser top. That's pretty interesting, I guess. But when you see that they're sending him bot with the support after they're jungling, you're like, I don't know what season I'm watching because this is not how people play anymore. And a solid team like Longzhi, you saw how they play against a lane swap. They're like, wow, you just gave us 2 kills in the first turret. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good game.
Yeah,
So.
and they were just howling in the player screens. Like,
Yeah.
what are these guys doing? This is hilarious.
Pretty much the whole game, you could see them just smiling, especially at the end. Prey just could not hold it in. So, Longzhi 2-0.
That's right. Fnatic 0-2.
Oh.
And man, they're in a rough spot right now.
Yeah.
Me and you said that these were like both must-win games. Day
Lost
1,
both.
you got to win against the Marines. Day 2, you got to win against Immortals. They lost both, and now they basically need to beat Immortals and the Marines and get some help, or win a game off Longzhi.
Yeah, I mean, basically now for Fnatic to get out of groups, they either need the Marines to beat Immortals, which after that last game, I'm not so sure, or they themselves need to beat Longzhi, which after their first 2 games, I don't know about that. So they both seem like pretty unlikely scenarios.
Yeah. Gotta give a quick mention to the top lane pool here in Group B.
It's quickly become the most competitive for worst player at the tournament.
Yes.
So as in
or
Archie.
Who's gonna win? Well,
You know, that might be an award we have to hand out later.
yeah, I think we'll take a look at those 2 players and break it down pretty in depth. Because,
Yeah.
man, Archie going 0-8-0. That's a KDA of 0, which is pretty
Hey,
sick.
that's some good math you just pulled out there.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I can't wait for part 2 of the Marines versus Fnatic because they're both just going to put up some fierce numbers.
Yeah.
But very interesting. Week 2 or day 2, NA 3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
Wow.
TSM, spicy one against the Flash Wolves. I don't know if you're confident in TSM after that win, but at least they won. I feel like last Worlds, they probably lose that game.
Oh, 100% they do. And I mean, Flash Wolves has always kind of given them some trouble. And they're not a terrible team either. We're looking at them being 3rd in the group behind World Elite and TSM themselves. So to be able to just keep your composure in that game after falling behind early and then having some missteps in the late game, good on TSM. You can't, I mean, a win is a win. Sure, it wasn't clean, but you beat the Flash Wolves. You're 1-0, looking okay.
Yeah, and I think you can also take some pride as TSM. I don't think Bjergsen played nearly at what his standard is or at his best, which is a little odd because obviously Syndra, one of his most comfortable champions. He didn't play bad by any means, but I think, I mean, if he's playing at his peak and you put that along with, if Hauntzer keeps playing like this, then I mean, TSM's going to definitely be a force in that group. Immortals, 1-1 now. They looked okay against Longzhi. They actually had an early lead, and now they beat Fnatic. You're pretty confident in them for second, I would say, in that group right now.
I mean, right now, the Marines, who knows if they can out-cheese Immortals. But the thing with cheese is that eventually it wears off. Like, you surprise someone once with the lane swap, and now everyone expects it. So you have a strat going in case they do it. So it's not going to be able to work as well. Fnatic was kind of the victim to that one. But yeah, for Immortals, you're 1-1. Neither game was super clean. Even the Fnatic one was a bit messy, but individual players did look good. I mean, Cody Sun and Ole were put behind early, but Cody Sun still fought back later in those team fights on that. Kog'Maw looked okay. I thought Pobelter was fantastic. And you put Xmithie on Gragas, much more of an Xmithie champ instead of that Ezreal, and then Flame on the Jace looked pretty good as well. It's a couple outplays.
Yeah, I mean, you got the contrast was Immortals got Flame super ahead, and Soaz was way behind, and Reckless was significantly ahead of Cody Sun, which, I mean, usually you probably want your AD to be way more ahead than your top laner, and it was working for Fnatic.
Unless he's dead.
Unless he's dead. So I think without that misplay, I think Fnatic might win that game. So maybe not fully confident in Immortals.
Sure, but they got to win.
They got to win.
And also Cloud9 making it the North American sweep on day 2. Look at that. And they looked pretty good.
They did. Very convincing win over AHQ. Yeah, I said pretty much one kind of misplay where a couple guys got caught out. But aside from that, yeah, very clean. I like Contracts on that jungle Ezreal.
Yeah.
He played it in the play-ins. He looked pretty solid. I like a guy like him playing it more than Xmithie just because he's a little bit more aggressive, and I think he's more comfortable playing these carry-type junglers.
Yeah, he's at home when he's on these carry champs, whether it's that full AD Rek'Sai that he seems to like, the Ezreal, whatever it is, Kha'Zix. That's where Contracts kind of lives rather than these tanks, these Sejuanis, these Gragases. So you get that to Contracts. Off to a good start for Cloud9, and then Sneaky's team fighting on the Xayah was also pretty fantastic. And Jensen's Rise was very impressive. His ultimates, just to reposition, look good.
There were a lot of really good Rise ultimates in that game. The Fnatic game.
Yeah, that was a sick Baron.
Sweet Baron they did. Yeah, it's very interesting how people are finally using these Rise ults.
That's right.
But tomorrow, C9 EDG.
It's a big one.
Is a big one. If C9 wins that pretty much, that is going to implicate the group entirely. 0-3 EDG would fall to if C9 wins, and then 2-1. That is looking pretty nice.
And you would assume SKT beats AHQ. So that means AHQ falls to 1-2. C9 with a win would be 2-1, sitting in second place with EDG pretty far behind.
Yeah, I mean, so that C9 definitely want to come out strong in that game. And if you're EDG, I mean,
heartbreak.
You had SKT, you had them, and then you can't. That's a lot of confidence. People will say, well, you had a good start, you probably should have won that game. That should build up some confidence. I don't know how much confidence a team can get when you lose, especially when you have that big a lead. It's tough. So
it's not easy, no. It's definitely pretty rough, but yeah, North America.
North America, and also another key game tomorrow, TSM World Elite. TSM a little shaky. World Elite looked
very good.
Very good, but then again, Misfits, they don't look that great. People weren't expecting them to be super great. So that is a marquee matchup as well.
Leads off today. Good one to start. Kind of fight for first place right there when it goes to 2-0.
Back-to-back first games for TSM. You think they're a little less shaky going into that game?
I would say so. I mean, you got to think so. I mean, the first game of the tournament leading off the day, the Chinese fans are hyped. It's going to be a little noisy because, man, we've heard in some of these VODs that the Chinese crowd goes wild anytime there's even a glimpse of a kill. When someone ults on a Chinese team, it's like, it's real. That's real. Chill out for a second.
They must have a lot of mics put into those crowds because some of the screams people are yelling are insanely loud.
I think there's a fangirl holding the mic, the ambient noise mic.
She might have found it and just grabbed it and she's screaming into it because they are insanely loud. But yeah, those are some two big matchups. There's a lot of good matchups in day 3 now that the groups are kind of getting settled, getting figured out. Group C going to be back in action.
Yep, G2's back.
G2 is back, and EU
winless.
No wins.
It's a goose egg.
So we'll see if day 3 they can snap that streak because it's looking rough for them right now.
It definitely is looking rough. But eventually, G2 will run to Fenerbahce and get a free win. So.
That's true. That's true. So they will get that 1-5, right? Maybe 2-4?
Yeah.
Oh, an improvement from last year. We will not be doing a show tomorrow after day 3.
No, because it's a weekend.
Because it's the weekend.
It's also Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada.
Yeah, it's Turkey weekend.
Ooh.
Which means Get Boosted is going to be on Tuesday at 3 p.m. It's at 3 p.m., right? Are we doing it too?
Yeah,
3
3,
p.m.
3.
It's going to be 3 p.m. on Tuesday, not Monday, because we have to go celebrate Thanksgiving.
Give thanks.
What was this?
I don't. Waving a flag.
Waving a flag.
Canada.
Turkey flag.
Turkey flag.
I love turkey
We're
flags.
Turkish.
We are
Fenerbahce.
Turkish.
Yeah.
Fenerbahce, 1907.
Of course.
Fenerbahce. But make sure you're checking out all these games this weekend because they're going to be exciting. And on that Tuesday, we'll break down the whole first week
Oh, that's a lot of
of
games.
group stage. There's a lot of stuff. We're going to give out some awards, best players after week 1 of the group stage, and worst players. Spoilers, it's a 2-horse race right now.
Someone's
And-
gonna have to really suck to get in that race.
Yeah, they're going to have to really, be bad. But we'll be back on Tuesday to break down all that action. And there's going to be some spicy stuff, I'm sure. So, Eric Hummel, Matt Hempstead, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.